Hello and welcome to Reawaken the Girl Within. Thank you for joining us this morning. This is our fourth session so far. So we had an incredible lineup of ladies joining us yesterday, very powerful sessions, starting with raising strong girls, going then into pain to power, pathways to transformation, and then ending the day with unleashing your power through mentorship. So if you haven't checked those out, please do. So today we are here for Reawaken the Girl Within. This is to celebrate International Day of the Girl coming up on October 11th, which really aims to celebrate the achievements and the potential of girls. The day is designed to address the needs and challenges that girls face while promoting girls' empowerment and the fulfillment of their human rights. And I thought it would be great that as we celebrate girls, to celebrate girls of all ages and all backgrounds. So regardless of how old you are, to reawaken, to reconnect, to rediscover the girl within. And part of that is also reawakening some of those dreams that we have, that as we grow up, maybe sometimes there's dreams that we had in regards to our career, the goals that we wanted to achieve. And so this morning, I am joined by Alvina Solomon. And she'll be talking about how you can optimize your career success and opportunities through LinkedIn. Alvina is an insightful career coach. And in this session, I'm really glad to have her. So let me just bring her on screen. Hi, Alvina. Good morning. Thanks for joining us.
Hi, Laura. It's good to be here. Thanks for having me.
Fantastic. So I am looking forward to just exploring what this means and looks like to leverage LinkedIn, the social platforms that we have. The theme for International Day of the Girl this year is Digital Generation, Our Generation. And I thought it would be really apt to talk about this platform, LinkedIn, as we talk about careers and what that means and looks like for women to really take advantage of growing up in the digital generation. So thanks for being here.
No problem.
Okay, so maybe let's start with telling us a little bit about yourself. So again, tying in with the theme of Reawaken the Girl Within, tell us a bit about Alvina, the girl within. What were you like? What was life like growing up?
So I'm actually from a small town in Sabah, and before I moved to the city, which is Kota Kinabalu, I actually came from a smaller town called Kota Belud. So my childhood days were pretty happy. I think I was a happy child. I was very lucky because my parents, um, you know, being Indian, normally parents are quite strict and they already they already charter a pathway for their kids, and they try to tell as like a lot of Indian parents try to tell their kids like be a doctor, be a lawyer when you grow up. But my parents kind of just let us be, and especially for me being the youngest, they kind of let me wander around and figure out things by myself. And then when I didn't know what I needed to do, I would go to them for advice. So childhood wise it was fairly quite happy. I think it was a lot of playing, less studying but a lot of playing. So that was like a glimpse of my childhood. Yeah.
I think that's lovely. I do love that part of Malaysia, Borneo, like very
Mm-hmm.
green, very quiet.
Mm-hmm.
It sounds like an idealistic place to have grown up and spent your childhood. So that's awesome. I love that. So I've known you for a long time, pretty much nearly my all my years in Malaysia, which is over a decade.
Mm-hmm.
I was wanting to do the maths, but a bit slow this morning. Um, so every time we meet, so nearly every time we meet, you're holding a book. So
Mm-hmm.
I know you as a reader. I thought it would be interesting to just share, like, why is that, and maybe what are some of your favorite books?
So back in my days, which makes me sound a little bit old, but we didn't have so much entertainment. Like we had limited channels, right? on TV. So books was another way for me to learn and like feed my imagination, to see things in a different point of view. So I grew up reading books like Hardy Boys, Nancy Drew. I think those typical books that were very popular back then, and even Enid Balton. And yeah, my home always had books. So my dad, being a lecturer, he had a lot of books, and my parents always encourage us to read. But between like the four of us, I have two brothers and one sister. I think I'm the one who like reading the most. Um, it did bring me to a different world. So I think that that's probably why. Yeah, I would read a lot of books in a day. Yeah.
Mm, that's fantastic. So what are some of your favorite books that maybe you've read recently?
So recently, I like this book by Simon Sinek, Why? And then the other one that I'm rereading currently is, I forgot the author's name, but the book is called 13 Things Mentally Strong People Don't Do.
Mm,
I really like that book. I think it's not a book that you should read like in a day. I think I just took a chapter a day because it's a lot to download, and it's a lot of thinking to do, and self-reflection. So I like those kind of books. I do like Philip Yancey. I'm not sure if you heard of him. I like some of his books too. And then there's Paulo Coelho. His books are quite interesting as well. Um, so those are some of my favorite books. But I do tend not to reread books too much. So I'll look for new books to read all the time. But I think a few of them that I reread would be like Why by Simon, and the 13 Things That Mentally Strong People Don't Do. Yeah.
yeah, I have read through 13 Things Mentally
Mm,
Strong People Don't Do, and I agree. I think it is a great book. So
mm.
thanks for the list of recommendations. So I will include that in the summary for the conversation, so people can check out some of those books. So who would you consider to be maybe your role models or mentors? So whether those are some of the authors that you've read or other people.
I think when it comes to like role model, I would say it's my mom. I think she went through a lot. Uh, you know, when she met my dad, it was arranged marriage. Back in the day, arranged marriage is very popular. It's still popular now in India.
Mm,
The difference is back then it was more like you meet the person and then it's more of the families agreeing more than the person getting married, and then they get married. And she had to move from India to Kota Blut, which is a very small town in Sabah, and that's a big move. And at her age 26, I don't know if I could do that. And I think she just left it. She knew for the most part God had her back, and she had faith that God will see her through this season. So her faith in God was very inspiring. Then even after having kids, she battled cancer, and then she wanted to fight cancer also because we were so young then. So I think if anything, my mom, she's really a role model. I wish I could tell her more of this often before she passed on, but I hope she knows that anyway.
I think that's been one of the amazing things. I think in the conversations that we've had,
Mm-hmm.
just the power that moms have, that
Yep.
parents have over their children, that they
Yeah.
influence and inspire them so much. Like sometimes we think it will be, the big names, but
Mm-hmm.
I think this just being aware of the power and the influence that we have on the people closest to us, I think
Yep.
just is incredibly powerful. And I think even as we talk about, reawakening the girl within, as we celebrate International Day of the Girl, I think that just reinforcing, I think just the power of the home, the power of those really close relationships in shaping who we are and
Mm-hmm.
the direction that we end up in. So thanks for that. So you describe yourself as an accidental career
Good
coach.
coach. Yeah.
How did that happen? Why accidental?
Accidental because I I left like when I started looking for a job, right? It was like through Job Street or through newspaper. those days. Right now, things have changed. So when I started looking for a job in 2018, the job searching landscape has changed so much. And the main thing was actually LinkedIn, building a brand, and showcasing your value. That was the three main thing that I never considered, because I stayed in companies for a long time. So I didn't know what was going on, like in the job searching world, what has changed. So yeah, when I started looking for a job, I tried different methods, and somehow I wasn't getting the results I wanted. So I felt like I was going in circles. I would listen to podcasts like career coaches giving advice on LinkedIn or even on YouTube. Um, and I tried to implement them. Somehow, some worked, some didn't, and eventually, I actually ended up hiring a career coach myself, and that turned out to be the best investment that I ever made, because Austin, who was my career coach, he really helped me. Not with so much with CV and writing a story in LinkedIn. It was more on how to network. You would think someone who used to manage a call center would know how to network, but no, it's a little bit more complicated than that. So it's how to network, how to apply for jobs without even having the job advertised, because there's a lot of hidden jobs in companies that's not necessarily advertised, and it's just passed on to other colleagues, or people are recommended in instead of the job being advertised out. um, yeah, so spending time learning stuff about myself, and then spending time with Austin, I think I learned so much about uh, navigating the job search, and I started sharing it with friends, and those methods worked for them too. So that's how I ended up being an accidental career coach. It wasn't something that I was after. It's just that you consume so much, and you did so much trial and error, and you kind of know how things work, and that's how it is. So it's like you learn the ropes that way. Yeah.
And I think that is how we all learn. And I
Mhm.
believe that's actually a key principle. I imagine even as as one is navigating career transitions and kind of figuring out what works. I think there probably is a little bit of that learning by experience, because maybe you might hear all the right things to do, but actually taking those steps, experimenting and putting them into action, and kind of really putting yourself out there. I think that is one of the key ingredients to success. What other maybe problems do people commonly face when they are navigating a career transition?
If it's a career transition, I think two things. One, they might not know what they really want. Like a lot of people they ended up in the jobs they are in by sort of accident. Like it was the job they applied and they got through, and then they just stayed on. But after a while, they realize this isn't really what they want, but they don't know what they want. So it's you do need to do a little bit of self reflection to find out what you want. And for those who know what they want, they don't know how to articulate that value, or how to, yeah, articulate it to the hiring manager or the recruiter. What are the things that they can bring into the organization? So I think you have to start there. People normally think it's the CV or the LinkedIn profile, but no, you have to do some self-reflection and ask yourself, what is it that you really want to do? Then only you can move from there. Because if you say anything, that's not helpful to anyone. Even the recruiters or your career coach cannot help you, because what's anything? You kind of need to at least look back and see what are the things or what are the previous roles that you did that you actually found joy doing, and maybe it's something then you can look into. The other thing you could do is informal interviews with people who are already in the line that you think that you want to do. For example, if you want to be a service delivery manager, talk to someone who's already doing that role and find out if that's actually what you want to do. Because what you think, what you want, and the reality of the job, it's not necessarily the same. Yeah. So I think those are the two main things.
I really like how you talk about almost taking a step back, right? Because as you said, oftentimes you're just focused on, I need a job, I need a job,
Yeah.
I need to leave where I am now and go and take the next step. But really taking that little bit of time to examine. So what I guess I'm wondering, right, in that context, where does one find the balance between maybe, as you said, you ended up in a career accidentally because it's the job that you got, versus maybe wanting to change or do something different, maybe once you realize, this actually isn't what I want to do? Because on the one hand, you have a foundation, you have maybe some success, you have some track record. And on the other hand, you're also maybe looking for fulfillment, satisfaction, joy that you mentioned in your work. Where's the balance? Where's the line?
So I think the good news is no matter what role you were doing previously, there's always skills that you can bring to the new role that you want to go to, as long as you know what the new role is. So I had someone that I was talking to. Her background was law, but she wanted to do recruitment. It's such a big pivot, right, in terms of where she is and what she wants. But she managed to land a job as head of recruitment. And how she did it was she used her transferable skills to apply for that role. Not only that, during her weekends, she invested in herself. She actually took up courses that will help her understand how does recruitment actually work, what are the tools needed, and she talked to relevant people. So you have to build something to get to where you're at. You don't have to leave your job straight away, but you can do it during your spare time, your weekend. And if you want someone to take a risk on you, right? To take a risk, pretty much a gamble for someone who doesn't have that background and put you in a position that requires some background, you need to do some work. So you can't just expect people to just like take that gamble. It's a lot to gamble with. So in her case, she actually did her work and she signed up for a course, and every weekend she spent at least half a day in that course. And that's also the way she built a network and got to know more people, and that's how you actually get to know openings in other companies. But in her case, she got to know an opening through LinkedIn, which also shows the power of LinkedIn, right? And she reached out to that person directly, and that person was open enough to say, "Yeah, let's have a chat. Let's see what we can work out." So it's not impossible. It's just that you do need to put in effort and not expect companies to just want to train you, because they don't have so much time or resources, but they are willing to take that risk if they see potential and they see someone willing to learn and willing to put themselves out there. Yeah.
So it's demonstrating the ability to initiate, so to
Yes.
take initiative to, so you might not know everything that you need for that next role, but when you've started building that foundation, then it's much easier for them to recognize what you might be good at, the effort that you've put in. And really, it sounds like it comes down to investing in yourself, and investing in the future that you're interested in building. So I think that's a great point, as you said, to make sure that you're not just feeling entitled, or you don't just expect
Yeah.
your next job to take care of it for you, but really taking that initiative. So I guess I'm also wondering, right, what are some of the other key things to consider, at various stages? So I think that's a great point, as you've already mentioned about navigating career transitions, but maybe at various stages. So maybe if you're starting out, maybe mid-career, and maybe for someone later on in their stage, what are some of the key things to consider at these various stages of one's career?
For a fresh grad, I think you do have age to your advantage, so you can do a little bit of trial and error and see what do you really like doing or what you enjoy doing. So fresh grad, I think it's more, the door is pretty wide for you, because companies, they are willing to take fresh grads in also, because they know they can mold them, they can be trained in different areas, even regardless of your degree. I know many people who did degree in one thing, and that what they're doing right now is completely different. So I think fresh grad trial and error, see what you like doing, and then after that, once you figure that out, you can invest more time and effort in it. For mid-level, so that will be, you pretty much know what you're doing, or you are pretty much stable in your career. So there's normally two ways, right? Either you continue being a solo contributor, or you want to climb the leadership ladder. um, Either is fine. It it doesn't mean if you are a solo contributor you're not successful, and managers or leaders are successful. It really doesn't matter. It depends on you, what you define as successful. If you're not a people person, don't be a manager or leader, because it's such a disservice to yourself and the people who will end up reporting to you. Because being a leader is a lot about communicating, empathy, and being able to connect with people. If you're happy just doing your own stuff, being given projects and being a solo contributor, then go ahead and stay in that path. For the older ones, I think one of the biggest challenge is really ageism. People all over, it's not just Malaysia. I think it's the same everywhere. They do get discriminated over their age, and there's also this perception that people who are like above 50, they just want to retire, so and they're not well versed with technology. That's also not necessarily true. So if you fall under the bucket that you are above 50 and you're looking for a job, one thing you need to do is you need to be updated what's going on, in especially in the technology world, right? So invest in yourself, go for training, go for certification if you can. Actually, companies can pay for that under HRDF, so request it from your manager, talk to them, and yeah, just make sure you are relevant. Put those skills in LinkedIn and your CV, so people, the hiring manager who reads your CV, don't come up with their own perception. They can see, like, if you learned up about, you took a certification on blockchain or digital transformation, or you took a course on branding, so they know that this person is interested in growing, in learning, and investing in themselves. So you remove those potential bias they might have. So that's one thing they can do, especially if you're above 50. And one thing, uh, people who are above 50, for example, one thing no one can take away from you is your experience, right? I can't. Someone who is seasoned might be slightly more expensive than a fresh grad, but a fresh grad can't do a work of a seasoned person. If I had a big project, I would hire a senior manager, because 10 fresh grads isn't going to help me, because it's about navigating the challenges, and you need someone who is experienced to know that, to see what's coming in the next milestone, to anticipate certain things, manage stakeholders. So that part of experience, yeah, that one money can buy in that sense, right? So you control the narratives, the narrative of your story, especially in LinkedIn. If you are one of those people who update your LinkedIn and you have a profile, make sure you put all this in and tell a story about yourself. So you control the narrative, and don't let people just look at it and assume things about you. Yeah.
Isn't it interesting that in some ways, as much of a challenge and crisis the pandemic, or now the endemic, has brought about, it also has facilitated this transfer, this digital transformation of people really upskilling in digital technology, communications, and almost like rapidly learning. And so I think, at least in that capacity, it seems like it has evened the odds a little bit, especially for the more mature job seekers, who are now probably quite a bit more comfortable with technology than they might have been at the beginning. So I think in some senses, as much as it has been a really difficult season, there are also, I suppose, these moments of silver lining that
Yes,
come in. So
that's true.
so tell us about the power of LinkedIn. So you mentioned, maybe people might already be updating their LinkedIn and, updating their profile, making sure that they're keeping it relevant to whatever it is that they're doing, updating it with their new skills. But why is LinkedIn important?
Okay, so LinkedIn, let's look at stats. So there's around 740 million people on LinkedIn, ranging from college students to executive, right? So there's a lot of people on LinkedIn. 87% of recruiters spend their time on LinkedIn looking for candidates. So if you're not on LinkedIn or you have a dead profile, you're losing out to many people who have a complete profile. So why bother with LinkedIn, right? Why can't I just apply normally through companies or through JobStreet? Because one thing LinkedIn can help you do is network. People are more open to network. It's easier to reach out to different people that you don't even have connection with, and talk to them about things that you have in common. That's one. LinkedIn is also good for people, for salespeople who are looking for lead generation. There's a, I think, sales navigator tool. I've never used it, but I understand that you can actually get leads through that. You can connect with people who are maybe in the same industry with you and see if they need help with certain problems that they might be facing. So apart from that, it's your own landing page, right? You get to uh, create your own personal brand the way you want it, because your CV can't do that. Your CV pretty much just has all the roles that you have done previously and what you accomplished. But in LinkedIn, you can have a profile picture, you can have a banner that you tailor to your own liking. You can have your elevator pitch inside. You can list down your accomplishment. And the other thing is you can have your colleagues or your previous managers to actually recommend you and write things about you, like for example what you're good at, what were the things that you excelled in. So it gives some sort of validation about the things that you say. In your CV you can write anything, right? You can say I saved $10 million for my company, but really how and who's there to validate it? But when you have testimonials or recommendation, I think it does add more value and credibility to your profile. You can also be a thought leader if you're already at a certain level and you want to share your knowledge. You can do postings and get insights about how other people are thinking about a similar topic. So it I think the benefits of being on LinkedIn really is so huge, and a lot of people don't see it, which is quite sad. Yeah.
Mm. So why is that? Why do you think LinkedIn is so overlooked?
It could be
Because
like if I'm just good.
everyone's on
Sorry.
Facebook. Everyone's on Facebook. So
Yes.
where's that? Yeah,
Well,
why is LinkedIn overlooked?
they could it could be possibly because some people are stuck in the old ways of doing things, which is just apply for jobs different ways. In LinkedIn, it's a lot about building your personal brand, so it does take effort. Um, it does take you to also be very active in LinkedIn. So LinkedIn rewards you when you're very active, like when you like posts, when you create content, when you do comments on other people's posts. It basically feeds the algorithm. So the more active you are, then you will come out more often, basically. So it does need effort. So it's not like a static page that you can just leave there, and it's more professional. I think like Facebook, you can put memes and write random stuff there, but I think with LinkedIn you have to be a little bit more careful because it's your professional brand, right? So you wouldn't want to write some stuff, like some jokes might not be welcomed in LinkedIn versus Facebook. So it's basically, I think it's either not recognizing what it can do for you, or being stuck doing things the old way, or just not willing to put in effort, because you do need to at least log into your LinkedIn quite often. I'm in LinkedIn daily. Sometimes I'm just scrolling through and reading, but sometimes I post. So it really depends. But I try to stay active in LinkedIn quite often.
Mm. Yeah, and you've mentioned quite a number of just aspects of LinkedIn that maybe people haven't even thought about. I mean, on the one hand, it is an algorithm. So similar to Facebook, you do need to be active. And so they use your engagement
Yep.
and your interactions on the platform in order to kind of tailor your experience
Yep.
and how you interact and network with people. But you've mentioned things like, thinking about it as a landing page, from your profile picture to how often you're posting, and just again being very intentional about your narrative and the brand that you want to build. So I think that's really helpful. I just want to shout out to everyone who's listening and watching. Thanks for being here with us this morning. If you do have questions, do type them in. I know someone's asking about the live recording. So, yes, so the recordings will be available later. So, don't worry about that. You can catch up on some of the great stuff that Alvina has already been sharing with us this morning. So just as we go through this, what are some of the most important things that recruiters might be looking out for, or maybe even the people that you want to network with and connect with? What are they looking out for in your LinkedIn profile that you might want to kind of zero in on?
Okay, so we'll start with recruiters. So recruiters, when they log into LinkedIn, they're basically looking for candidates, right? They have a job opening. They need to match the correct candidates to that. So what they do is they do a search based on keywords. So if they're looking for a service delivery manager, so they would be certain keywords that they will key in. Probably one would be service delivery manager or stakeholder management, or ITIL certified. So what you want to do, if you're really new to LinkedIn, what you want to do is go through at least 5 to 10 job descriptions, dump it into word cloud, and then see what are the common words that come out. So those are the words, or those are the keywords that you need to make sure is baked into your LinkedIn story, because you need those words to appear so that when the recruiters do their search, your profile will come out in front. Uh, so while you want to create a good story, you do need to make sure you have certain keywords that match the jobs that you're looking out for. Um, Sorry, Laura, what was the second part? What are people similar to the industry looking for?
Yeah, or for the networking opportunities, because you also mentioned that it's not just about maybe the jobs that recruiters are actively looking for, but for the people who you might be networking with, and in order to maybe find out about the jobs that aren't being advertised.
Okay, that's a very good one. So like the hidden job market, right? So and this is very true. When I was hiring for people, the first thing I would do is not, I would prepare the job description and then I'll pass it to the recruiters internally and ask them to go advertise the job outside. But the reality is I would go back to my team and ask, hey, do you guys know anyone who wants to join our team? Because someone they know and someone they recommend holds more weight than some random person out there, right? As qualified as they may be. So if one of my team members recommends someone that they used to work with, or they know someone who's looking out for a job and they pass that CV directly to me, the likelihood of that person landing an interview is really high. Versus if they just apply through the portal, because one job could have, it really depends on the job. It could have like 250 to 500 people applying for that job. So how do you stand out? So the easiest way is really network your way into it. And this is LinkedIn is a good tool to do that. How to do it? There's ways to do it so you don't look so creepy in LinkedIn. Just wanting to network for a job, that's not the right way to go about it. It's building that relationship first before you ask for a job, unless it's someone you already know or you previously worked with. So that's a little bit different because there's already a relationship there. So it's really important to get to know people, engage in their other people's posts, and give thoughtful insights when you are engaging with other people's posts, because that will actually put you in their I would I wouldn't say limelight, but it will help them see you like someone they've never seen before. And if you keep posting insightful comments on their posts, they will take notice of you. So eventually, when you drop them a note and say, "Hey, Laura, you know what? I've been I've been reading your posts. I really found that insightful. I hope we can connect and yeah, be connected in LinkedIn. They are more likely to accept it. Um, if you just randomly just shoot very general messages to people, most of them won't entertain because they know it's like this is a general message to everyone. So you do need to tailor it a bit and be more intentional when you are trying to network, especially if it's like executive level, hiring manager, people that you want them to be on your side. Yeah.
I think that's great advice, and that probably ties in with what you mentioned earlier about maintaining consistent engagement on LinkedIn outside of just I need a job right now.
Yeah.
So to actually think ahead in terms of where you want to go and begin building some of those relationships ahead of time, so that when the opportunity does come, that you've already built that sense of connection, I suppose. So it sounds like again that intentionality of setting your own direction and deciding where you want to go and planning some of those steps. And I know oftentimes, like in talking to women, I found that sometimes we are not as intentional as we could be in terms of setting direction. We're waiting for our manager or our boss to tell us, what our next step is in terms of our career growth and trajectory. I wonder if you could speak to that a little bit.
Yeah, I think I fall under that bucket as well. For the most part, I think there were seasons that I was just waiting for my manager to notice what I'm doing, or that I want to do something else, or move up the ladder. The thing is, to be fair to my manager, they can't read my mind. So it's something that it needs to be articulated, and you need to have a conversation with your manager, and the conversation can be as simple as, um, what do I need to do to move to X role or your role in the next 2 years? Um, Most managers, I would think, at least the ones I worked with, they don't see it as a threat. They actually want someone to take over their role so they can move up and move on doing something else. So they do need to have someone ready to transition to their role so they can go do something else, right? So that conversation must happen, hoping that they will notice all your great work. It doesn't always work. The other thing is, you kind of need to advocate for yourself. It's really hard to do because it's almost like you need to like share all the good stuff that you do. But sometimes I just tell myself, just do it. Like, if you did something well, or when you solve a major problem, and if you don't FYI your boss, he or she will never know, and it just stays there, right? So you do need to advocate for yourself. So basically, share when you did something good. You could share the story, and just let your boss know. And I think even previously, my direct reports who did that, I would always remember, like, oh, okay, he managed to solve this problem. And I will always drag those emails into a different folder so that I remember when it's performance review time that this person did ABCD really well. So I can remember those parts. So yeah, I think the main thing is advocate for yourself. And I think, I don't know if it's an Asian thing, but sometimes, when someone says, hey, you did a great job on this, the tendency to say something like, no lah, it's everybody helped out. It wasn't just me. Like, everybody did pitched in. While it might be true, and you want to stay humble, it can come across like you have low self-confidence. It can, right? So
Mm.
I think also just saying thank you. Yeah, that was hard, but we had a great team that worked on it. It's better than saying no lah, no lah, everybody helped out.
Mm.
Yeah, it can come across like you have a self-esteem issue or confidence issue. So I think own your successes, including your failures, right? If you made a mistake, just own up to it. We are human, we are going to make mistakes. So own your success and your failures. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's fantastic that you mentioned that as well, advocating for yourself, and even how being intentional about how you phrase certain words, like when you're in the habit of maybe declining or kind of downplaying your achievements, but finding a way to still be humble, but to accept and to acknowledge the praise or the acknowledgement that's coming your way. And
Yeah.
I also loved that tip that you threw in for managers and for leaders to actually put those emails in a separate folder. That will make their lives so much easier as well, as you said, when the time comes to review someone's performance, so that they don't feel disappointed when they've highlighted things. You can very quickly and easily refresh. So I love that, just as a way to manage and make that easier on both sides. So it also sounds like you know uh, in your bio you talk about how you help professionals by first helping them break down their self-limiting beliefs, and it sounds like this is one of those areas where that comes in. Could you maybe just talk a little bit about that? Yeah.
Sure. I think like a lot of us struggle with self-limiting beliefs. Somehow we think in our heads that we can't do a lot of things and other people can. But the reality is they also learn. The difference is probably they learned and they tried and they learned from that mistake and then they moved on. Somehow even for me when I was with my career coach, I was telling him like, like this for this role, I think I can only do 70% of this role, and he was like, and like, yeah, so I shouldn't apply because I can only do 70%. I was like, no, you should apply. I mean, the other 30% you can learn. Like, there's no point of you taking a job you can do 100%. Then which point are you growing, right? It has to be a good balance, and a lot of things in life you can just learn as you go along. Not everyone knows everything at one go. Like your even the there's a saying, even the CEO's first day in his job, he wouldn't know everything. So he has to learn. So I think recognizing what are the beliefs or what are the stories we tell ourselves in our head is the first step. Then you can see why you have such a belief, or maybe it was like a previous failure that you had and you think you're gonna just carry it forward, and it's breaking that down and realizing that we're just humans, and failure is part of life, and you just need to move on. And sometimes it just takes someone to actually speak it to you and recognize that you are beating yourself up for like really silly reasons.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's so true. That oftentimes we forget that the people who are one step ahead of us, three steps, even 10 steps, they kind of had to walk, they had to take the steps to get to where they are. And then we compare our current state with, where they are, rather than, when they were at our stage, they also had to learn. They also had to put in the practice and the effort to learn the ropes.
Yep.
So we briefly touched on this idea of networking, and I know oftentimes women find it difficult to network, and put themselves out there. Any thoughts on that, or how could women maybe navigate that?
I think when it comes to networking, it's honestly a skill to learn, which can be learned. um, Women, I think, maybe fear, it could be fear of rejection, like what if that person doesn't entertain me, or also it's just overthinking something so simple, right? Because you can't control what the other person's going to think anyway, so you might as well just send that email. Just make sure it's a good networking email, and there's tons of templates you can find online. uh, yeah, it's just making that first step and not worrying too much. Like, I think even I have that problem of overthinking. What if, like, it really doesn't matter, like nobody's gonna die if I send that email out and he or she doesn't reply. So yeah, I would think it's either that fear or
Hmm.
just overthinking.
So Nike, the just do
Yeah.
it.
Yes, like, just do it. Yes.
So let's say, so we've talked a bit about, I think everyone's tired of, hearing about, COVID-19 and all the consequences and effects. But what would you say to someone who maybe has been struggling to find a job during this season, or, contemplating a career makeover in the midst of everything that's happening right now?
Okay, so I will break this into like at least two groups. One, the ones that are stuck in a job they don't like and they want to transition out of that job. And the other bucket would be people who unfortunately were made redundant during the whole COVID-19 pandemic. So I will give slightly different advice for those who are made redundant. I think the most important thing for you to do is not apply jobs every day. You will drive yourself crazy. When you're not working and there's no money, there's no money coming in. It's a different kind of mental stress. So my first advice is stick to a routine, like maybe Monday to Friday, look for a job, and not the entire day. Like take some time out to exercise. The exercise will actually help you, not so much of like the losing weight part. It's actually good for your mental health. It will give you happy hormones, so that will help you stay positive. Um, Tailor your CV and don't apply like 20, 30 jobs one day. You should be applying maybe 2, 3 jobs per day, because you want to customize and tailor your job, or sorry, your CV to the job you're applying. So you need to spend a good maybe 1 hour plus per application. So how I would say is break down your day so you have like proper schedules, and like weekends don't apply for jobs, and just enjoy the weekend with your family and your friends. It's quite brutal out there. Like there are a lot of people looking for jobs, but the good news is there are jobs available. Like if you go in LinkedIn or JobStreet, there are jobs available. You just need to make sure you are doing the right things to get noticed. Yeah, so that's for people who are made redundant. For those who are stuck in a job they don't really like and they want to transition out, um, don't make the mistake of not learning why you want, like understand why you want to leave the job. Is it uh, you don't like the salary, or you don't like your boss, or what is it that you don't like? Because the last thing you want to do is go to another company and have the same problem, and then you're just repeating that process over and over. So you do need to understand what is it about the job that you don't like. And if it's salary, have a discussion with your manager. Who knows that they can do something about it. If they say no, then okay, that you can kickstart your job search. And the best way also really to land a job is, yeah, network and customize your CV. Don't just send a generic CV to everyone. When you look at job description, there's a reason that position is open. There's a reason that company is trying to look for someone to fill that position, right? So how are you the answer to that problem that they're having? So make sure you are able to deliver or articulate what value you will bring and how you're going to solve their problem. uh, and that's how you at least get a hiring manager interested enough to call you for an interview. So that's just the first part is getting the interview. Then the second part is acing that interview and landing the job.
So, which parts do you help people with, just along the process? Because you mentioned quite a few different things that they need to work on. So, what areas would you be able to support people with?
So yeah, so job searching is actually quite a process, right? It's actually like from the beginning to like from working on your CV and making sure it has the right words and optimizing it, and then creating your LinkedIn story to make sure you get noticed by recruiters, and also you come out when they are doing a search. So that's already two parts. And then there is also the part that how you network. What do you say to recruiters? What do you say to hiring managers? How do you find this? How do you make sure your resume actually lands on their mailbox? That's the fastest way for them to open up your CV. I remember last time. The thing is, when we do a job posting, maybe 300 people applied for the job. I will get maybe 10, 15 CVs. I don't know how the recruiters actually shift through the CVs and gave me this 15. I assume it's through the keywords. But I will always open up a CV that lands on my mailbox. Somehow these people would find my email address. And it's not that hard. There are tools to help you find people's email address, the hiring manager's email address. Send them a customized email and say, "Hey, I saw that that you have a job opening. I'm really interested in this position. I've also applied through the portal, but I also wanted to just drop you a note to say that I'm interested in this role, and here's my CV. Please get in touch if you have any questions." I'll naturally open that CV and have a look to see if that person is a good match. So yeah, it's like networking tools, what to say to like different people, different target. And also the other thing that Austin taught me that I thought that was really good, how do you set yourself apart from 500 people who are applying for the same job and all 500 of them think that they are the best fit for the company, right? The best way is actually to show, not tell. You're already telling them through the CV anyway. So it's either you create something called a value validation project, or you can create a portfolio. So it really depends what kind of role that you are applying for. So even for the current role that I'm in, I created a value validation project to showcase what are the things that I feel that I could bring to the company. So I did like a 6-slide deck and then sent it over to the hiring manager for them to have a look. So I already get an advantage by doing that because I put in effort to look into their social media, their company profile, and I did research that normal candidates don't do. They normally just check what is the mission statement, the vision of the company, and that's it. So if you want to stand out, you have to do something extra. Does it take more time? Yes. But will it increase your chances of landing an interview? Yes, because they see the effort that you put in. If you are like a designer, then create like a website with your designs inside, or you create a portfolio that hiring managers can just go inside and look and see for themselves what types of things you worked on. That's more enticing to any hiring manager. Yeah.
Thank you, Alvina. I think it's been really helpful just hearing some of the key things to focus on, some of those tips for people to be able to navigate and to leverage both LinkedIn, but also just finding success and opportunities in their career. So really appreciate you having you here. And as we begin to wrap up, I have been asking all our speakers, what's your key message for women to reawaken the girl within?
I think for me it would start with some self-awareness. Like you really do need to understand yourself a little bit better, what you like and what you don't like. And I do believe every one of us have something special, what I call the secret sauce, that is easier for you to do compared to someone else. And it's like those little gifts that God has given you. You need to figure out what it is and and just own it. Yeah, and I think be true to yourself as well. I think society has already given us like various templates how women should behave, how women should be like, but those were just like templates that were passed down from other people who that's all they knew. But I think being true to yourself is really important as well, and knowing that your life doesn't need to be similar to someone else. It will have its own journey and up and down because we're all different anyway. So yeah, I think being true to yourself.
Yeah, so this Reawaken the Girl Within Weekend Summit is hosted by Women in Leadership Limelight, or simply WomenWILL. And so we have a 4-step success path, like the 4 pillars. And the first of the pillars is actually to embrace your path. So design your destiny through self-awareness and self-discovery. And that's how you unlock your vision, your grit, and your resilience. And so it sounds like that's really the foundation to everything that you want to do, is identifying what are the stories that you've been told, that maybe the script that you want to stop following, in contrast to the story that you want to live in your own life. And again, that does, as you said, start with self-awareness, self-discovery, in order to then be able to craft that vision, craft the destination that you're leading to. So I think that was very well said. Thanks for that. So for yourself, what's next?
I think if anything, COVID has taught me is life is really short. So I think what's next, I'm really looking forward to traveling more and taking. I think not taking things for granted, because life is really short, and I want to do things that I really like doing and not worry too much. Yeah.
I like that, short and sweet and timely. Which is true. I think many of us are looking forward to travel and kind of getting back some semblance of whatever the new normal looks like. So where can people connect with you or contact you? I'm going to
LinkedIn.
take a guess. Yes.
Yes, it'll be LinkedIn. Yeah.
Okay, great. So just look for Alvina Solomon on LinkedIn, and it will also be included in the session notes. So if you do want to get the session notes, just go to womenleadership.co/girls and register for the session. And so we'll be able to send you the transcripts for the different sessions. So thank you, Alvina, for joining us. So again, so Women in Leadership Limelight, what are your maybe closing words on charting the path forward for women in leadership?
I think I'm going to steal something Sheryl Sandberg said, that you have to have your seat on the table. Like if you have an opinion, you have to say it, and make sure you take a seat at the table and not just expect people to recognize the things that you do. Then it kind of circles back to advocating for yourself. So to me, that would be it.
Fantastic. Thank you so much once again for being a guest here at the Reawaken the Girl Within Summit. So really appreciate all the gems that you've talked about. And if you are listening, do make sure you're updating your LinkedIn profile. Treat it like Facebook minus the memes. So
Yeah.
be active, engage. Share your insightful comments, build those connections and relationships in order to maximize your career success and opportunities. The Reawaken the Girl Within Weekend Summit is in celebration of International Day of the Girl coming up on October 11th. And this is really to celebrate the achievements and the potential of girls. So you, if you are a girl, thank you for joining us. And even if you're not a girl, whether, any age, gender, background, thank you for joining us. And we do hope that this has been helpful. And I look forward to bringing Alvina back on to drill a little bit deeper into some of the specifics of what you've shared. I think it's a very valuable, very practical feedback. So thank you for that. And join us on Monday for our upcoming session, our next session of Reawaken the Girl Within.